This past weekend I went to an event called All-Star Bash 2017. This event happens every year towards the end of the season when all the events have pretty much ended. This is the last hurrah, the last bang before the start of the new season. So with that being said, this is usually the event where people do or die. They send it all or go home with nothing. This event kind of had the mentality, I'm gonna drive 110% and I'm gonna leave the track with my car broken because I know I drove to my full capacity and I have a couple months to rebuild and prepare for next season. Although I didn't compete this year with everyone who was there or with many people who just went to more of the events because I kind of just started getting into it this season, I definitely drove this event with the exact mindset that I'm gonna leave this event with a car that is not working. Having that kind of mentality allowed me to drive a little bit harder and a little bit more recklessly, which at first sounds kind of bad, but in all actuality, kind of pushed me to my limits and really pushed me outside my comfort zone and made me drive a little bit more harder to which I normally wouldn't. The two tracks that we drove were very, very aggressive and not a beginner's track. These were more, in my opinion, I would say more an advanced track, high speed, third, fourth gear, downhill transitions, scary shit. I'm proud to say that I left this event with a car that was not working. Although yes, my motor is technically still intact. My turbos are shot. I've lost a headlight. I have broken brake lines. My car is definitely not in a good state. And I could say that this is probably the last time the car will be like this, ever. When I got home last night and I put the car away, I thought the car was in a lot better condition than it actually was. When I pulled it out, I went to grab my brakes to slow down after backing off the trailer and realized, oh shit, I have no brakes. In the last run we actually had, which I don't really have a clip of it happening, but I have a clip after it happened. I went down on a horse thief, went to initiate, went to left foot brake as I was transitioning, didn't have any brakes, flew off the track, and lost my headlight in the making. This brake line right here got pinched and snapped. I don't know what the exact cause of that was, but I have a couple theories. One, you can kind of see the sway bar looks way higher than normal. Maybe the sway bar pinched it in some way and it got screwed. I'm not too sure. I've also been told that with the angle kit that I do have, when you go on full lock, the brake lines are right next to the caliper and sometimes they do get pinched. Now, maybe I went in transition, hit full lock and I hit it extra hard and I pinched it. That's why I didn't have any brakes. So let me flew off track, which then maybe it popped. I'm not entirely sure, but I lost my brakes. And in that spin out off the track, I somehow lost the headlight. I've concluded that these twin turbos are shot with the amount of smoke coming out while being under boost. It's a pretty sure sign that the turbos are done. A lot of people are saying, well, TJ, couldn't it also be the head gasket? The odds of it being a head gasket at such low miles is very, very unlikely. I was planning to go single turbo at one point, and while I'm not 100% sure that it is the head gasket, I'm gonna make an assumption here and assume that it is my twins, as I also was having trouble hitting my peak boost. So we're probably gonna ditch those twins and say goodbye to those for a while. The main reason why I think I was having overheating issues, after talking with many 2JZ owners and people who have built plenty of 2Js in their life, they said, well, one, you see how close this radiator is to my intercooler? That is way too close. This gap should probably be about 3.5 to 4 inches. These fans are way too small for what I'm doing. But the reason why I'm not running bigger fans like I have the spares over there is because they simply won't fit, which is in addition to my intercooler and radiator being too close together. There's just not enough room here, not enough space, not big enough fans. A fix that I have in doing that is simply move the radiator to the rear end of the car. My intention as it is right now is to do a rear mounted radiator. That alone will clear up all overheating issues and throw 1 or 2 fans back there. It should be perfect and I shouldn't have any overheating issues. And in doing that, I'll be able to have the intercooler sit all by itself, have plenty of room, and I'll clear up a lot of heat issues right here. That should really bring the temps down. I'm not too sure if having a single turbo will help clear up some of the heating issues, but I do think 2 twins packed into all this junk would create more heat than just a single with a bunch of space behind it. To go overkill on the heating, a new vented hood is on the way. We need a hood that is extremely vented. I'm looking around the market. I have a hood in mind that I do like that should do me just fine. So a new hood is on the way. Despite everything that is wrong with the car at the current moment, I do know that the future of the car will change within the next month or so. So the way it sits right now, I'd like to do a walkthrough of everything the car has had done to it, including the motor, to the fuel cell, to the cage of the car. I wanna walk through everything because just like 4 months ago, 3 months ago, this car was completely different and it was a crazy transition to get where it is now. This was what I was building towards for months and months and months that you guys watched me do, and now we're about to change that all. So in honor of the way the car sits now, I'd like to walk through everything, briefly touch on some things from the front of the car all the way to the back of the car. 2JZ VVTi motor. I love this motor to death, but it has given me nothing but headache since we have had it. Before I continue on, at ASB I actually had a quick chat with Chris Forsberg, and I was telling him all the issues that I've been having with this car and in this motor and how frustrating it's been getting me, and it's been like upsetting me and kind of putting me down when it comes to working on this car. And he reminded me of something that I guess I kind of lost in the midst of this whole entire build. All the minor issues and problems that you have on track, things that you're trying to fix while you're at your shop, that's kind of the fun part. That's kind of where you get the most enjoyment. And once you're done, you look back and you're gonna miss those times. And it sounds kind of crazy, but all the hiccups and fine tuning, that's kind of the fun of the whole entire process, because once you fine tune it, it's great, but it's always nice to kind of have an ongoing project. My whole idea was to stay stock twins for as long as possible to kind of learn the motor a little bit. I didn't want to jump high in horsepower and kind of let the car get away from me. I wanted to perfect my driving style with the way it is right now before moving on. So we stuck with the twin setup, big intercooler, radiator, nothing too fancy about the motor. We tuned it to about 350 horsepower, making about 14 pounds of boost. We stopped pushing the car because we were maxing out in the injectors when we were on the dyno, so 350s were sat, making around 340 foot-pounds of torque. All the lines became a real big issue with the car, so every major line that we had on the motor, we pretty much tried to replace it with an AN line or a hard line. So you can see here, we have all of our ANs going back for our oil catch. Power steering was something I really had an issue with. I had to replace the power steering pump and had to get actually a new can, and I was still having a bunch of leaking issues. So we jumped to hard lines, and then recently we put in this power steering cooler, and again, put in the AN fittings and making it super, super nice. On the inside is where I spent a lot of my time and tried to make it as pretty as I could. When I was doing it here, I thought it looked so good and I thought it looked great. And don't get me wrong, it's okay. But when I went to the track and I went to ASB and hung out with a lot of other people who had been in the game for a lot longer, and especially I sat in a couple pro cars, it made me realize how shitty this interior is. While yes, it looks okay, and yes, I did it myself, it is so bad compared to everybody else. I learned a lot going forward with this, so I think the next time, or I might even revamp it a little bit. We have a 6-point custom cage in the car, and KL Fab did a nice triple X design in the back, which he has never done before, which I thought was pretty awesome. I also recently cut the doors out to save some weight, which actually probably saved me about 30 or 40 pounds on this door, and ditched the window. You don't really realize how heavy these doors are until you cut them out. Now, you could get them lighter, yes. You could get carbon fiber doors, yes, but doing this way was free and it saved some weight. A cool little feature that was recently added is we used this door handle cable and zip tied it to the door and make it attach these jet tags here. So if I were then reaching to the outside and opening the door, you could just pull the key tag, unlock the door, and push it out. I relocated the battery to the rear end of the car just to save some more room up front and to help kind of keep the cluster out. Coming to the rear end of the car, you can see that we also tubed the rear end of it and left both sides open. If I was to redo this, I probably would have kind of closed this off a little bit more, or at least did better efforts to kind of enclose it, because it makes the fuel cell get disgustingly dirty and it gets all over the pumps and the filters, which isn't a bad thing, but like if I was to choose, I'd rather have it be clean than filthy. I'm really excited for everything to come in because we have so much new stuff, and we haven't done that many mods lately. It's been kind of like slow builds here and there on the 350, and then like that was it. Quite frankly, I'm kind of sick of seeing this car every single day, and I cannot wait to start working on other builds and finally get back into that. So this video was short. I apologize, but like I said earlier, I'm gonna spend the rest of the day with Sabrina. So thank y'all so much for watching. You already know I will see you tomorrow. Peace out and keep moving forward. I'm feeling good.